For decades, the game of American drug pricing had a clear set of rules. Well, all of that is changing. A massive shift is underway, and it's completely rewriting the playbook for everyone. Drug makers, insurers, doctors, and yeah, for you. So let's follow the ripple effects of this huge change, starting with the law that kicked it all off.
It really all boils down to this one huge question. For the very first time, the U.S. government can actually step in and negotiate the price of certain prescription drugs for people on Medicare. This used to be explicitly forbidden by law. So what happened? What changed?
The answer? It's one single piece of legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act, or as you'll hear it called, the IRA. Signed into law back in 2022, this thing isn't just a small adjustment. It's a total overhaul of how we pay for the most expensive drugs in the United States. To really get what this law does, you got to break it down into its three main parts. First, and this is the one that gets all the headlines, is that direct price negotiation. Second, there's a new rebate system to punish drug makers if their price hikes are faster than inflation. And third, a total redesign of the Medicare Part D benefit. That's the prescription drug plan for seniors.
Okay, so what comes out of that negotiation? It's a brand new concept called the Maximum Fair Price, or MFP. Now, this isn't a friendly suggestion. Think of it as a hard ceiling, a government-set price cap on what Medicare will pay for some of its priciest drugs. This is a really big deal because this public government-set price, it just didn't exist before.
And this isn't just a one-and-done deal. Not at all. It's more like a snowball rolling downhill. It starts small, with just 10 drugs in 2026, but then the number of drugs under this price control grows every single year. It even expands from Part D drugs, the ones you get at a pharmacy, to Part B drugs, the kind you get in a doctor's office. So, this new reality starts a chain reaction, a series of ripples. And the first and biggest ripple? It lands squarely on the pharmaceutical manufacturers. For them, the entire business model is being turned upside down.
This is where things get really interesting and a little weird. There's a negotiation clock that starts ticking the moment a drug is approved. But get this, the clock is different depending on the type of drug. For traditional pills, what we call small molecules, that clock runs out after just 9 years. But for more complex injectable drugs or biologics, they get 13 years. And that 4-year gap, it creates a huge incentive to invest in one kind of drug over the other. Some critics are even calling it a pill penalty.
And hey, this isn't just some theory. The impact is already showing up in the data. Look at this number. Since the IRA passed, new clinical trials for existing small molecule drugs have plummeted by a mind-boggling 47.3%. With that shorter runway to earn back their investment, companies are already pulling their research funding.
So, this financial pressure is forcing a huge strategy shift in R&D. For example, since one negotiated price applies to all uses of a drug, there's way less reason to research new ways to use it, which is a huge deal in cancer treatment. We might also see companies pivot to drugs for younger people who aren't on Medicare. There's even this orphan drug paradox that might discourage research into drugs that could treat several rare diseases at once.
One analysis put it really bluntly. They just said, flat out, that the era of what they called free drug pricing in the U.S. is over. This is the new game board, and like it or not, the manufacturers have to play.
Okay, so the ripple hits the drug makers first, but it doesn't stop there. The next wave washes over the payers. We're talking insurance companies and the providers, your doctors and hospitals. They're now caught right in the middle, squeezed between the government's new rules and the drug makers' new strategies.
To really see how the insurance companies are feeling the squeeze, just look at this massive shift in who pays the bill. We're looking at catastrophic coverage. That's for patients with the absolute highest drug costs. Before the IRA, the government picked up 80% of that tab. But starting in 2025, the government share gets cut in half, down to 40%. And the insurance plan's share? It quadruples, jumping from 15% all the way up to 60%. So, if you're an insurance plan and your financial risk just shot through the roof, what do? Well, you start putting up walls. You tighten the reins. We're seeing more requirements for prior authorizations, where your doctor has to get permission to prescribe something. More step therapy, which forces you to try a cheaper drug first. And in some cases, plans are just kicking drugs off their approved lists entirely.
And the squeeze doesn't stop with the insurers. It hits doctors too, right in the wallet. For drugs they give you in their office, they used to get paid based on the average sales price, or ASP. Now, for these negotiated drugs, they'll get paid based on that new, lower maximum fair price. And since the MFP is going to be lower than the ASP, That little 6% add-on they get to cover their costs, it shrinks. Their revenue goes down.
So what does that actually mean for your doctor and for you? Well, this financial pressure might lead some doctors to choose alternative drugs that pay better. And at the exact same time, they're getting buried under a mountain of new paperwork from all those insurance hurdles we just talked about, all of which can mean real delays in getting the care you need.
All right, so we've seen this whole chess game play out. R&D strategies are changing, insurance companies are on the defense, doctors are feeling the pressure. But the final ripple? Well, that one lands right on you, the patient.
But here's the thing. This law isn't just about pressure and restrictions. It also delivers something massive, a huge direct win for patients. Starting in 2025, for the first time ever, there will be a cap on how much anyone on Medicare has to pay out of pocket for prescriptions, and that cap is $2,000. For people with really high drug costs, this is an incredible safety net.
But you knew it couldn't be that simple, right? That financial protection, that amazing cost cap, for some, is directly tied to all the new challenges we've been talking about. Those access hurdles from insurers and the big questions about which drugs will even get made in the future.
So let's just recap this whole chain reaction really quickly. Drug makers, they're shifting their research. Insurers, they're putting up more roadblocks to handle their new risk. Doctors, they're feeling squeezed financially and administratively. And patients, you get that fantastic cost cap, but you might face new hurdles getting the exact medicine your doctor wants for you.
You know, when you boil it all down, when you strip away all the details, the Inflation Reduction Act is really making one fundamental trade-off. It's trading the possibility of fewer new medicines or new uses for old medicines down the road for the guarantee of lower, more predictable drug prices for seniors today.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The law absolutely delivers on its promise to lower drug costs right now. But as these ripples keep spreading out, what will be the price we pay for the breakthrough medicines of tomorrow? That's the incredibly complex balance at the very heart of this new era.